Hey there, friend! So today I have another book review for a book that's a sequel. The first one is this guy here, The Gilded Wolves, and the second one is The Silvered Serpents. A little bit of a tongue twister there. Both by the same author, of course. Roshani, I'm sure I'm going to butcher the name, but Roshani Chokshi? I'm just going to stop embarrassing myself. But with this being the second book in the series, my kind of quick overview might be very vague just because I don't want to give away anything. But in case you are open to reading the whole series, I don't want to spoil anything that happens in the first one. So I'm going to be just vague enough in my review and talking about this book so as not to ruin anything for the first book if you haven't read it yet and think you might want to. So we follow our sometimes seeming random group of, I really think misfits is the best word here. A lot of these people don't quite fit in any one category, but they all kind of have a family together within this group. And so it is once again time to go on a grand adventure. This adventure is a little less like a heist like we saw in the first one, but still similar. The gang is tasked with finding this castle that many think no longer exists and question if it ever existed. Not only do they have to find it, which I don't think is too much of a spoiler because I think it's kind of expected for the rest of the book to happen. It happens early enough. They do find it. But just finding the location isn't enough. There are more traps and history to uncover and engage with. And so it seems that just finding the castle itself is only half the battle. Alright, so we get a little bit more difficult here with the multiple points of view. We have a whole band's worth of characters, I think at least 5, and so we have each chapter focuses on a different person. So that's a lot of hopping between narratives. They are always told in the same style though, which is third person past tense, so that makes it a little bit easier. So I would rank this on a scale of 1 to 5. Difficulty, I would rank it a 3. Little more difficult than average, but still quite doable to jump between those 5 different people and their inner monologue and their thoughts and views on the outside world. So for the social aspects of this book, I would say it is quite a bit more difficult. I would rank it the 5 out of 5. Each of our cast of characters are all dealing with their own issues, and they are kind of deep and heavy and complex. And that's something that makes me like the book, but that's also something that can be harder to understand all these different struggles that all these different characters are going through. It just gets more complex. We have kind of heavier topics like losing a loved one, struggling for your own independence, how much to rely on others, and how independent do you want to be, can you be? Trusting other people, being seen and appreciated by others. A lot of people need at least a little bit of encouragement and being told that they're doing a good job. But finding that balance for yourself between what you feel comfortable asking for and do you feel as though you're being too needy? And so what's the proper line to walk? When can you say I need more attention? And when should you be comfortable in your own skin and without asking for validation? These are just like quickly trying to name a few of the more complex, kind of bigger ideas that all these characters are dealing with. Several of them are dealing with more than one at a time. There's just a lot of thinking and opining on different morality and social issues, and so that's why I would rank it the 5 out of 5 as far as difficulty goes. So I'd also rank the romance a little higher or more explicit, I guess, because we do definitely have a situation where it is very apparent that 2 people spend the night together in an intimate way, but in what I've kind of been calling YA fashion, we don't get vivid descriptions of the act, which is appreciated. I like that. I like the cutesy romance stuff sometimes. I feel a little uncomfortable when I hear about specifics of someone, getting it on. So there's none of that. But I do rank this a little higher because sex and sexuality is pretty often referenced. I feel like it's the most relevant for this section to kind of include it in here, but this is something that I feel like is a little heavier or triggering. Can be the issue of being able to bear children or suffering a miscarriage. And that's something that's touched upon lightly in the book. It's something a kind of tertiary character deals with, but it is referenced often enough that I feel like it's important to bring up. It can be a really delicate subject, and so I think that the inclusion of that, and with just how many sexy things are brought up and addressed in the book, I would rank it a 4 out of 5 for being more mature. So once again, I'm going with a higher maturity ranking in this section as well. I'm going to go with a 4 out of 5 because it's kind of like a mix of a heist and a treasure hunt. They have to follow some clues to find the building, and then when they get in the building, everything's not, abundantly clear and laid out for them. So there's more investigating and like clue following and tactical plans that happen to coincide at the same time. So that kind of makes me think heist. But especially a heist, and I guess even a treasure hunt, can get kind of violent. There are quite a few instances of combat coming up, and blood is shed during that combat. There's also a bit of voluntary bloodletting in order to use some of the artifacts that they find or to trigger a mechanism to work. So with all that talk of blood, I would say that it's a little bit on the more mature side. So again, ranking it a 4 out of 5 there. I love this book series so much. I won't opine too long on like the specifics of this book or what I like about it, because honestly, a lot of the things I mentioned in the first book carry over. The book is generally written very well. A lot of the plots as they're unveiled, like I don't see it coming a mile away. Like maybe I figure it out right before, maybe I'm just shocked, which is shocking in itself. But the biggest thing for me that I really enjoy about this is the characters. The characters feel really real. They have lots of struggles. They just feel very three-dimensional and not like just a stereotype. They might have come from a stereotype, but they're unique enough that they feel as though they could be real people. But, those are some things I maybe got more excited about in the first book. And I still super enjoyed them here, but something I kind of wanted to touch on is I think that this book hits my Goldilocks zone. I like YA a lot, but sometimes I feel like I'm a little too mature for those books. They keep a very simple, like maybe one point of view and very simple morality and can get kind of tropey. But I also find that I don't quite as thoroughly enjoy fully adult novels. Sometimes it's a little harder to keep everybody straight and all these different plots and locations and something like that in a more adult and mature book. And so I really like the Goldilocks zone in between. I want something that's got a few points of view, but not like as many as Game of Thrones. But this book does a really good job of still being so easygoing and kind of easy to consume, which is what I enjoy about YA, but being complex enough that I feel like the characters are real and not just like cardboard cutouts. And the universe is interesting. I believe it's based on slightly older Europe, like maybe early 1990s. I'm not sure. An older time frame. Again, don't remember what time exactly. The universe is different. They have these fragments of Babel that let them do fun and exciting things that are similar to magic, but they say that there's a science behind it. It's science, but it allows you to do very mystical and magic-y things. But I liked it. So it was a good mix of being complex enough, but also simple enough that I enjoyed it a lot. It also felt a bit like fulfilling. So I guess this opinion section was a little less about this book specifically and just kind of my opinions on YA versus just A fantasy. So to sum up my thoughts, The Silvered Serpents by Roshani Chokshi. Again, I'm probably butchering it and I'm so sorry. But it's a really good book and I really recommend it. There are some things that can get more mature, but honestly, even a more mature kid could handle it. I wouldn't be appalled to see somebody the age of 13 reading this book. So that's my thoughts on recommending it. Strongly recommend everybody read it, but I also understand that a lot of things handled in this book are handled in a more mature way. So you might want to keep that in mind when thinking about recommending it to somebody. And again, this is the second book in the series. The Gilded Wolves is the first one. So if you want to pick it up, make sure to start there. But that's all for my review today. So I just want to thank you so much for stopping by. Every time I see the view counter go up, it really makes me smile. But I hope this video finds you well and that I get to see you again in the next one. Bye for now.